Welcome to the Small Business Breakthrough Podcast, where every week we are introducing small business owners to small business owners. We love to make sure that we have a small business community that supports a small business community. And today we have Teddy Height, who's the founder of the Gage Collective, which is he has an interesting take. So Freelance built agency alternative is what they specialize in from a digital and social media marketing. So instead of going the agency route, they went a different way. And Teddy, I would love to start off the conversation with what does freelance built agency alternative mean?
Of course. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. Second, the Gage Collective was built to support businesses, whether they're just starting out or they've been around for a number of years, really own and make an impact on digital platforms, specifically social media platforms. And what we found about 8 years ago is the traditional agency model is outdated. There are too many steps in the process. It moves too slowly. And so we came up with this freelance model that allows us to custom build really efficient teams to move quickly and make the most of digital platforms for businesses, whether they're e-commerce, they're in tourism, they're in retail, whatever industry they may be in.
Excellent. So you've been in this a while, right? You talked about 8 years ago. So what inspired you to start the Gage Collective?
Yeah, so I originally came from the brand side of marketing, and when I decided to go out on my own and start freelancing, I fell in love with the art of freelancing and the balance it allowed me to bring to my life. In addition to that, I actually freelanced for a few traditional agencies, and found that the model and the ways that they were working, it was just not sustainable when it came to social media. So I decided to sort of bridge my newfound discovery of the agency model with my love of freelancing, and came up with the Gage Collective, and really aimed to build a community so that freelancers could do the work that they do really well, but also feel like they had a team to collaborate with on a regular basis. And yeah, flash forward almost 8.5 years, and it's been a proven model and quite successful.
Excellent, excellent. So with that freelance side of it, you're taking an agency, an old school agency model, throwing it out the window, and you're essentially working with freelancers to kind of facilitate them. They're on their own, they're independent contractors and I think that's a really neat approach, and kind of how it's a little bit of a decentralization, as we would call it in a tech space of things. But you've been in business for 8 years. You've been growing steadily. What would you say, like managing a group of contractors and being able to continue to bring in lead sources, what would you say has been your number one thing that key to success?
For sure. We're a very hardworking team. And I think the beauty of the freelance model is every freelancer on our team specializes in their own zone of genius. So if you're a copywriter, you're a copywriter. If you are an account manager and you're client facing, you're doing that. If you're a photographer, you're only doing that. And it just really allows us to deliver quality work that is affordable and adaptable. And so I would say, I think just the level of service and work that we give to our clients has been hugely successful for us. As a marketing agency, we have rarely had to market ourselves. So a lot of our business growth has been referral based, has been connections of existing clients or other partners within our community. And I just think it goes to show that us sort of leaning in, rolling up our sleeves and really focusing on doing great work and delivering great service has, brought that growth outcome for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Referrals are always the best possible way to grow a business. And by growing by referral, you're doing well, because people don't refer to, usually people don't refer people to that they don't like. They, unless they have some vendetta to go after, but that's typically not the case. If you've ever opened your laptop ready to grow your business and 2 hours later closed it, realizing you've gotten nothing done, but you've researched office chairs, you've ordered lunch, and you've planned out the next 3 dinners, all the things that you wouldn't typically do to work on your business. Yeah, I've done that too. I'm Jason Pond. I'm the host of the Small Business Breakthrough Podcast, and I want you to achieve your breakthrough. But we do that through the community I built. I built the Momentum Community. The Momentum Community is a place where we meet every week. We talk about your goals, where you want to get with your business, and then we track them. And we use the Momentum dashboard to do that. We make sure you're moving forward every week, and it's accountability like you've never seen in a community forum. I want you to be part of that community. If you want to learn more about it, check out the link in the description below and enjoy the rest of the episode. You do a lot of work with different business owners across and different brands across different platforms. What would you say is a recent project or initiative that's really energized you? Because eight years is some time, and you've definitely, it looks like you've got some energy into it. You're really excited and going. But what's a recent project that has just kind of helped reinvigorate and say this is why we're doing this?
Yeah, I think yeah, it has been 8.5 years, and we've seen a lot. And I think what's great about our business model is we're able to work with brands that are just starting out, as well as brands that have been established, for a number of years. So we often get to see really successful growth for a lot of our clients because we'll start with them at a certain point and help them scale to a new level. I think for me, one of the spaces that's been really fun to get into. My background is in food and beverage marketing, and we've just recently started to dabble over the past couple of years in the tourism industry. And I think what's been really exciting for us was to be able to represent and work alongside the state that we're in, which is Illinois, to help really tell the Illinois story from a social media standpoint, collaborating with the Office of Tourism. They're a fantastic partner of ours. Obviously, it's a really exciting time to showcase travel opportunities. And there's a lot that you can do from a social media standpoint, both organically posting from a paid standpoint, as well as influencer marketing. That has been just exciting for our team overall, because we as well get to immerse ourselves in the state that we live in and learn about things that maybe we didn't even know
Yeah.
existed.
Well, you talked a little bit about paid versus organic inside of that. And I'm curious to know what your thoughts are about how do you go about an approach where a business owner doesn't necessarily feel like maybe they've tried paid ads on their own in the past and they've tried organic on their own in the past and they're really struggling. Like they're like, I don't know what to do here and I don't have a lot of money to dump into paid ads. Are you able to put together a rock star organic campaign for them with a sprinkle of paid ads, or what's your opinion on the mix of organics and paid?
Yeah. So obviously, both working together tends to lift everything, as we've seen. But it's also understandable that a brand that's maybe just starting out, or even an individual that is a founder that wants to market themselves, doesn't have a massive budget to spend on paid. We take everything back to strategy. So any partnership we have spends about 3 to 4 weeks up front, really building a strategy, whether it's a mix of organic and paid or just organic, that is really sound and designed to deliver results. And I think the key there is intentionality. So I think when people think of social, they want to do everything everywhere all at once. And oftentimes what that leads to is just, a smattering of blips here and there, across a performance chart, when really, if you can get intentional about your demographic, what your specialty is, what you can offer, all of those pieces can really work together to deliver an impact from an organic standpoint. And then really, again, being intentional with how are we going to spend, whether it's a small budget or it's a massive paid budget, to reach those key customers or those key audiences that we're looking to speak to. And so it always comes back to strategy for us. Of course, you can test things and play around on social and learn a lot, but if there isn't that baseline of a strategy that's really guiding everything from the goals and KPIs you're tracking against the actual content that you're creating, we tend to find it's a lost cause, and you end up just spinning your wheels in the space, trying to do everything, and nothing seems to deliver what you're looking for.
Yeah, definitely having that goals and KPIs and having that strategy in place is critical to any endeavor, especially when
For
working with
sure.
it. So that's fantastic. What would you say if we're looking ahead, right? We're going to look ahead 3 to 5 years down the road. How do you see social and digital marketing shifting in the next 3 to 5 years? What's on the horizon that's going to really change the game?
Yeah, I think for me it's twofold, and we've been seeing this for a while now. I think COVID, the rise of TikTok, has kind of ushered in a new way of marketing on social, and it's sort of this anti-brand mentality, which for a lot of us brand marketers is hard to think about. That consumers, audiences, they want to see and hear from everyday people. They want to hear about authentic experiences, whether it's with a brand or working with an individual or using a product. And TikTok was a huge driver, and I think a lot of that type of marketing. And so the advice I give to our clients on a daily basis, and of course it's a learning for all of us, but you have to start to let go a bit and be okay with a lack of polish, because oftentimes posting is a numbers game when it comes to social media. And so content is king, content is queen. queen, and the more you have, the more you can test and gauge what works and what doesn't. And so I really sort of see this anti-brand type of marketing continuing and bringing in authentic voices, whether that's through creator marketing or influencer marketing, to help really tell a story and drive sales is going to be huge. And so I would look at it as a sense of let go a bit. Don't be afraid to have fun, to try out some new things, and also be willing to introduce voices other than just the brand's voice or the business's voice in driving that marketing story.
I wholeheartedly agree with that one. That is one of those things that's just like, you've got to be okay to try different things. I learned this years ago when I hired a marketing guy for myself at the last company that I owned, and he was out of the box, like, and whatnot. I'm like, you know what? We're gonna try. I didn't always agree,
Yeah.
as I was kind of in that traditional spot, like, no, we need to stay professional. We need to do this. And I'm like, I don't always agree with it, but what I noticed after giving him some opportunities was his tactics worked. And so
Yeah.
that personability, that's showing you're involved in the community, especially if you're a locally present business, it really created some big impacts. So,
For
here,
sure.
that becoming unpolished a little bit, I like that, the way you put that is, like, you don't have to always be stoic and perfectly presented. Sometimes that is actually becoming a turnoff, especially in the newer generations. So,
Absolutely.
that is fantastic to hear. It has been such a great conversation to learn more about what you're doing and how you're differentiating yourself in the markets. Would you say that you have, what would you say is your biggest differentiator when it comes to your workflows with working with a client? Outside of that, you already talked about the 3 to 4 week strategy session, but what's your biggest differentiator that work for working with a client, if they want to get a hold of you?
Yeah. I think for us, the biggest piece is collaboration. I think one of the things that I saw when I wanted to introduce this model was that, agencies collaborate, but they also very much have their own set of rules that they play by. And for me to really break down those walls and say a client can come to us at any hour with a crazy idea. And if we're into it and it aligns with our strategy and we can roll up our sleeves and run after it, let's do it. And so oftentimes, on a daily basis, we're emailing with clients. Sometimes we're even DMing on Instagram ideas and things like that we're seeing out in the space. And so really just to sort of bring that client agency relationship closer together and let them know that yes, we're an agency model, but we are collaborators, and we're also experts. So we'll always gut check every idea that comes through, but we're here to make the most of any practice that's happening in the space. And so for us, just to be able to really have that type of a working relationship, and like I said, get a little messy, have some fun, from time and time again, it has been proven successful for us as well.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, it has been a great interview. Are you ready to jump into our lightning round and go some
Sure,
quick hitter questions?
let's do it.
Okay. Coffee or tea?
Coffee, always.
Cats or dogs?
Cats, I've got two at home.
There you go. If you could grab only one item or weapon during a zombie apocalypse, what would it be?
Oh, that's a good question. I probably would grab, I'm not answering this very quickly. My first mind went to my phone, and I think that's true to my nature of the business that I work in. I don't know if it would work, but maybe I could distract with like the flashlight element. I'd figure out a way to use it.
That's great. That's great. How about a favorite quote or phrase that you think about often?
Oh, that's a good one. I mean, there's a lot. I think one that stands out to me. I just finished Ina Garten, the famed chef's book, and the title was "Be Ready When the Luck Happens." So I think recognizing when a door is open and being willing to just head through that door, and taking a risk when the moment presents itself.
I love it. Love that one. How about one book that has influenced your life the most?
Built to Sell, fantastic, a very fast read as well. And what's interesting is it's kind of built from more of like a narrative storytelling standpoint, but
Mhm.
is great for any business owner looking to get processes in place, with the ultimate goal of selling down the
Yeah.
road.
Yeah. It's a definite good book. How about the biggest obstacle you've had to overcome and one lesson you have learned from it?
Biggest obstacle is I am a yes person through and through, which often is great from a client relation standpoint, but can be a bit of a hindrance from a from a bottom line, resourcing standpoint as well. So for me, I think it was just really being okay with saying no or exploring different ways of working with clients that maybe were presenting something to us that was not a part of our scope, at the time.
Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. If our listeners
Of
want to
course.
work with the Gage Collective or learn more about your business, how can they get a hold of you?
Of course, they can visit us online at thegagecollective.com, GAUGE. We're also the Gage Collective on Instagram, where we're posting client work and cool things that we're doing. And then they can find me on LinkedIn directly. I'm always looking to connect, one on one with people, and it's Teddy Height on LinkedIn.
Excellent. We'll have all that information in the show notes or the description if you're watching this on YouTube. And I want to thank Teddy for being on the show today. It has been such a great conversation to learn a little bit more about a different approach on social and digital marketing versus the standard agency model. And if you want to learn more about how other agencies are helping people or other coaches, we have all of our other podcasts located up here in our Small Business Breakthrough podcast playlist if you're watching this on YouTube. Until next time.